Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Melissa Arronte, I believe is close to how your last name is pronounced, Employee Experience Practice Lead at Medallia. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me today. How's it going?
Thank you so much, Tony. So excited to be here. I haven't been in insurance in a few years, so I'm excited to talk about it again. If anyone can be excited talking about insurance.
If there is an audience that is excited about insurance, it's this audience, because that's exactly what it was built around. It's people who love insurance and people who are excited about it and want to make it better. So yes, this is very much an audience that nerds out about insurance. So we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. So what is Medallia?
Excellent. Thank you for asking. So I'll be brief on this, but Medallia actually started as a customer experience software company. So if you've ever been to a hotel or a retailer or a restaurant and you receive a survey asking you, how was your service? Or do you recommend this company? That's often Medallia. You'll see in the lower right-hand corner, powered by Medallia, and you're able to answer a couple of questions, give some open-ended feedback, maybe record a video. We often do that. And then we capture that and make it available to the employees who provided you the service and other employees across the company so they can learn how to continually improve. So we've taken that same software and applied it for employees. So this isn't your traditional engagement survey, though of course we can do that. But we are very focused on empowering and enabling employees to create the experience in which they work. We give them opportunities to provide feedback in many different ways. It could be video, it could be using a voice recording, it could be typing a response. They could find a survey or a question in their clock-in system, in their scheduling system. It could be on their portal, it could be emailed to them, it could be a QR code, right? So all these different ways we can quickly capture that information, immediately goes to managers and other team members so that they can problem solve and take immediate action. So we consider ourselves a system of action rather than a survey tool.
Okay, I love the idea of the customer service tools that we use to measure whether customer service is good, right? The NPS or whatever, being applied to the employee experience. Absolutely love that idea, because this is truly very, very, very close to my heart. I think a lot of the listeners know about my book, Insuring Tomorrow, about how to engage millennials in the insurance industry. The book, basically, all of the suggestions I make are all about employee experience. Like what I found as I wrote the book and I did the research for it, is that insurance is already a fantastic career. We don't do a good job of helping the employees see that, and we are a very conservative industry, and especially at the entry levels. Even though it's a great career, the entry level jobs might not be great jobs, right? So anything that helps empower companies to figure out what it is that people want at work, it is definitely something that I want to get the word out about. So this word, people analytics. So I hadn't heard it until a couple of years ago, and I heard it. I thought it sounded interesting. Somebody recommended the For Dummies book for People Analytics. I haven't actually read it, but based on the description that I got on how to use analytics to best manage people and best engage people, it seems really, really interesting. I see that you've been in the people analytics space for a long time. So I'd love to hear how it's changed over time. But before we started recording, I actually commented that back in 2005 at a major carrier, your title on LinkedIn was People Analytics, right? Director of People Analytics. And I didn't even think that was a thing back then. and then you were telling me that it's evolved to that. It wasn't that title back then. So I'd love to hear how People Analytics has evolved during the time that you've been involved with it.
Great question. So it was 2005. I'm showing my age a little bit, but that's when I first started in a role that was called at the time Workforce Analytics. And as you mentioned, it was with a global carrier. And People Analytics actually started long before then. The government and the military were doing people analytics in the 1950s, right? They needed to figure out who were going to be the best soldiers, right? Or the best pilots or whatever they might be. And so they created tests essentially to test people's skills. And a lot of those tests also involved personality components, leadership components. That was the original People Analytics, using information about people to predict their future behavior, which was performance on the job. So we've had this since the 1950s. It just hadn't been brought broadly to corporations probably until the 2000s. So I came out of graduate school back in 1996. And what I wanted to find, I called it an HR research job. And every company I talked to, they had no idea what I was talking about. There were a few, like maybe Ford Motor Company was doing it in GE, but it was all different names. And then in 2005, I was looking for a job in Boston and I saw this opportunity, and they were looking for someone with a PhD in industrial relations to do internal people research. And that was where I found it. And I can tell you more about what the job was and how it's evolving, but I feel like I'm talking a lot.
No, yes, so the first thing that come to mind from the old title, Workforce Analytics, and knowing that it came from the military and back in the 50s, the impression it gives me, I'm guessing that it was very related to the mechanics of things working. So it makes me think of how to what level should we staff the call center? Not at all. How do we make sure the call center people are engaged and are growing, right? So I'm guessing it came from a very I think it was Taylor that did the management research.
Taylorism.
Right? So I'm a giant nerd. I don't have a PhD, but I'm an MBA and a giant nerd, and I am getting my DBA in a topic very close to this. I'm just getting started, but so yeah. So Taylor did the research, but the research, it was very mechanical. It was very like how do we make things work more efficiently? But it didn't worry at all about engaging the employee. So I'm curious, by the time you started in 2005, was it still not touching much on employee engagement?
That's so insightful, because you're right, that is how it started. So Taylor was studying, and he had a particular person, I can't think of his name, but you might remember it, who was moving.
I'm shocked I remember the name. I'm really bad with names.
But this poor guy, like moving rocks, right? And how can you more efficiently do that? And then all kinds of things about how do you make people get the work done faster, so they need less rest time, all that sort of thing, right? But what they were missing is that if people were more excited and engaged because they were doing something that had a purpose, like when you said at the beginning, like some jobs at the lower level or entry level in insurance are sometimes they're not the greatest jobs, but they could be if those were people who were able to have an impact, who were able to do something meaningful, right? Our employees come to work every day because they want to have an impact. They want to make a difference. They want to have some meaning in someone else's life. And those entry-level jobs could. I mean, whenever you take a call from a customer who's just had an accident or service them digitally or however it might be, right? You bring them support or comfort or reassurance or whatever it might be. That, and then to be able to continually improve that, to recognize it could have been done better and to have better ways to do that. That is rewarding, engaging, fulfilling, meaningful.
My experience, and I myself started my insurance career in 2009 in a call center at Farm Bureau of Iowa, the Express Claims call center. So we took the call, entered in the system, and if it was clear liability, not a total loss, no injury, we would keep it and work it ourselves. And it was a really, really well-run call center. And they really taught us the love of insurance. They really taught us why insurance is important for the world, why Farm Bureau is different from the Progressives and the Geicos of the world, right? They're more expensive, but why? And they really taught us how to grow within insurance. And then I went from there to another carrier in the same city, a much bigger carrier. And there I had a claims role, not in the call center. And I found, this was 2010, I found lots and lots of college educated kids. Remember, we're in the thick of the recession, right? From 09 to 12. I found that hundreds, if not thousands, of college educated kids, and kids is anybody younger than me. I'm 39 now, so it's a lot of people, but right, a bunch of college educated kids doing a job that somebody with a high school education could have done. The company had gotten them at a discount, so to speak, because of the recession. And those kids were hating their job. They were not measured on employee satisfaction. They were not measured on empathy. They were not measured on learning about insurance. They were measured on time on call and how much time you spend away from the phone during your workday, right? And those measures don't lead to great service. And I thought that it was a problem with this company. And later on, I realized that it's an industry-wide problem. And I've written articles about this. I've been published in major magazines about this, and I've talked about it a lot. So I am curious if has it gotten better from like, you've actually been leading in this area? Has it gotten better?
I think it's gotten better in pockets, right?
Okay.
And other pockets, not so. So like you were saying, how did People Analytics start? It was very much about efficiency. How many employees do we have? How many employees do we need? But then you come to find out how many employees you need is really dependent on how they're turning over. Because you need, let's say, 1,000 employees to staff this call center. But if they turn over at the rate of 50%, that's a whole different number than just needing 1,000. And now you have to continually plan for that. But if you can improve their experience so that we're not focused solely on call handle time, right? We can also improve other metrics like the customer experience. So if we balance it with caring about the customer, making sure their needs are met, and the call handle time, then everyone can be happy because the call was handled efficiently, but with caring and ensuring the customer got what they came for. So that's really how People Analytics evolved, is we needed to figure out people are so much more than just the numbers that they're able to produce, but are they able to have an impact? And there's some great statistics. You've probably heard of Laszlo Bock. He was the head of people operations at Google. He wrote a great book called Work Rules. And he gives the example of the most effective software engineer is something like 100 times more effective than the average software engineer, right? But this comes from someone who can be really engaged and do something that's meaningful, because once you're excited about making a change, making something different, right? It doesn't matter how much you're paid so much, as long as you can afford, right, your basic needs. You are so motivated because you're doing something that matters, right? Matters to you, matters to others. And that's why a call center job can be so exciting, because you're helping other people.
In my session about millennials, I talk a lot about millennials are a mission-driven generation. And I'm thankful that I fell into insurance and that I fell into this topic of millennials insurance and not into banking or into oil or something like that, which eventually I would have had a hard time defending for a variety of reasons. Within insurance, the beauty is our mission is fantastic. Our mission is helping people get back on their feet, right? And once people have been in the industry for let's say 5 years, they have understood that. I was very lucky. I understood that quickly because of Farm Bureau. And then I also got to do 10 days of catastrophe duty after the largest tornado to ever hit the States in 2011. So I saw the effect of what our industry does, and I saw the thankfulness in person, at least for a few days, and really got sold in the industry. Most entry-level jobs don't have that visibility, and the call center is a great example. They talk to people every day, but if they're measured in such a way that where they're stressed about their call handle time, and not about how do I provide the very best, most empathetic service to this person going through a really hard time, who has been paying us premiums for years and finally needs us. But how are they supposed to see the amazingness that the industry is and does if you keep badgering them about things that they have very little control over?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I just did a study. It happened to be with a bank, but I believe any industry, not just insurance, right, can have so much meaning, because in any industry, we really can make a difference in others' lives if that's where we take our job to, right? So having been in insurance and in banking, we were helping people be successful financially. And we know that financial success has a strong prediction of happiness. And lack of financial success actually has a strong prediction of self-harm. So what we were doing in banking was incredibly important. When I was in the pharmaceutical industry, right, we were saving lives by building these drugs that could preserve and protect and enhance human life. Yet there'd be people complaining about what we were doing, charging so much. But anyway, I could go on about pharmaceuticals, but I can talk about it.
And my banking comment is very much based on my perception that the majority of banks here in the States spend a lot more time and money marketing financially dangerous products like credit cards than they do marketing financially advantageous for the consumer products like savings, with exceptions, but the big banks at least. So there are exceptions that have a different focus, but the majority seem more attempting to get college kids in credit card trouble before they even graduate than helping them get a solid start in life, right?
I see your perspective, right? And any individual employee within the company can do their best to make sure that they're enhancing people's lives rather than detracting from them.
100%.
And I think that's really what employee engagement is all about. So you just brought up a fact about call center and call handle time. So I just did a study with, it happened to be a bank. We work with other companies, but it happens to be a bank. And they were looking at their call center and they were having significant turnover problems, as many call centers do. And they knew from their employee survey that employees were complaining about compensation. But we took the data, really simple people analytics study, and compared those people who left and what they said on the survey with those people who stayed. And what we found is people who stayed actually complained about compensation more than people who left. So compensation is not a driver of leaving, but there is generally some complaints about compensation, but they're willing to stay even though they complain about it. And one of the comments that we found that was a big difference between stayers and leavers is leavers would complain about the goals, just as you described. The goals are unattainable. These are ridiculous. I can't live under these conditions. This is too stressful. This is too hard. The stayers would say, we have really high goals, but my manager supports me, or our team really pulls together and we support each other, or it's so exciting to have our team come together and meet these challenges of these goals we never thought we could hit, right? Such a totally different environment. They had the same goals, but the leavers just did not have the support, didn't have the employee experience where this is a challenge and exciting and we're going to do it. They just felt defeated, where the others had support from their team and their managers, and it was exciting to conquer it together.
So you found that the adage of people don't quit companies, they quit managers, it, at least for them, is pretty appropriate. Like,
in this example,
yeah,
it was either the manager or the team. Either one could be providing them the support.
And the other thing that you reminded me of, I heard recently, I can't remember where it was, and I'm not a military person at all. I'm not a veteran or anything, but read recently that in military science, it's basically well documented that people, soldiers don't fight in war for their countries. They're fighting war for each other. And basically, like when they interview soldiers coming back from war, and it happens in all sorts of different cultures, on why they, especially with all volunteer armies like in the US, in the last 40 years, why do you do what you do? The answer is because my platoon members, or my team is, I don't know the word, but my fellow soldiers would do it for me, right? It's not for the country. I think it's very similar. It right?
is.
They would carry water for me. I'll do it for them. It's not for the company. It's for my immediate team.
Yeah, that's a great example. Anytime we've asked employees, why do you stay? They say it's because of the people. It's my colleagues, it's my coworkers. I love the people. And that's why they work, to support each other, right? Or to support their customers. That's another.
So how do we use all of the data that we have to nudge teams to behave more like a brotherhood, more like a family, just to behave in ways that keep people here and keep them happy?
Yeah. And the examples we've given are that it's about the coworkers. It isn't always the case, but it is in these examples that we've given, right? So what we need to do is we need to use the data to understand what are the things in the employee's environment that are driving turnover so that we can impact them, right? A lot of times it's lack of recognition, right? Or it's not feeling valued, or not being respected, or their ideas not being heard. I mean, people want to contribute. And when they don't have that opportunity, they will go elsewhere. I mean, that's what the Great Resignation is all about. People sat back and looked and said, is what I'm doing meaningful? Am I adding to the world? Am I making a difference? And if I'm not, I'm going to go someplace else where I can. And that's where the opportunity for leaders in organizations to set a meaningful vision and communicate it all the time, right? So we have tools at Medallia, like video capability, where a leader can record a quick video, because employees want to see leaders, right? When we're not all together right now, they don't want to just get an email that here's the new mission statement, right? Or some little write-up in the online newspaper. They want to see the face. They want to, hear their inflection in their voice. They want to see the expressions. They even want to see the background. Let me really understand this person, what they're saying when they tell us this is the mission and this is what we're doing. Then when they record that video, employees can respond back with another recorded video. So this way, one executive can communicate with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of employees. And then through a simple app on their phone, they can hear and see, if they chose video, what employees are saying. And then we have all kinds of analytics on the back end to understand themes and what employees are really saying and take action based on it. But the essence is just really facilitating two-way communication between two humans.
That sounds really awesome. So let me see if I understood correctly. Okay, so the leader records a video, goes out to all the employees. They can even reply with a video. The reply doesn't bombard the leader with 2,000 replies, but rather they get sentiment analysis back.
Yeah, it goes into an app and they can look and see, like, what did this employee say? Or they can get analytics that would be exactly sentiment, emotion. It'll categorize it and say, this is what the employee was talking about, communication. Well, what about communication? Was it leadership? Was it coworkers, right? Or it can be totally unique, like what are employees saying that we didn't even know they would say? Let's just see what are all the kinds of common things that are coming up, and we can share that. Or we do things like we measure employee effort. That might be something employees are talking about, right? That's so common in insurance. It's hard to get things done. There's a lot of steps, right? So the leader could be saying, I want to reduce how complex our processes are so we can better serve our customers or make our jobs more efficient, and get that kind of feedback. Or it can be something, more exciting about how can we innovate? It can be anything. And employees reply back.
I can definitely see how this is much more effective than your traditional Gallup survey. Definitely a much more modern version of that same idea on how is the employee feeling and yeah, giving you more nuanced results. Love it. Absolutely love it. And do you see the and I think you've already maybe answered the question, but I was curious if it tends to be kind of the same answers, like the example of teams. Does it tend to be the manager and the team kind of in all different types of companies, or it really can be radically different, the answers that you get in different environments?
It can be different. I mean, there are some basic things that we're all looking for, right? Working with people that we enjoy, that we want to support, that support us, have meaning. Some of those things are basic, but what's causing the problem that's preventing us from having that can be very different. It could be processes, systems, right? Other employees, rules, guidelines. I mean, there's so many things that could affect it. But also our questions can be much more nuanced. Like we could be asking about innovation. So here we're not asking, how do you feel about your team? Or are you thinking of leaving because you're not supported? But really, how do we get a place to, especially like insurance, that can be seen as a tough place to innovate. But we've had some incredibly innovative things come out of insurance. But we need to provide employees with a way to express their ideas, to even share ideas with each other, right? Crowdsourcing is another thing that we often do so that employees can bounce off ideas off each other. You can just have a leader say, we're trying to innovate on this. How could we do it better? And bring together a lot of subject matter experts, or maybe even people who are so different who wouldn't normally crowdsource. Ask the call center people. Ask the people in the back office building the policy, right? Put them all together.
That is huge right now in insurance because AM Best announced just before the pandemic that they're going to add innovation to their ratings, and it's gone a little bit quiet during the pandemic. But the last thing they had announced was that the way they were going to measure it, and the measurement is designed in such a way that innovation kabuki theater doesn't count. Like you have to show actual results from the innovation efforts, not just I hired a VP of innovation and we had a lot of meetings, right? So anything that insurance companies can do to mine their very tenured workforces for innovative ideas would be fantastic, and guarantee 95% of carriers have no clue how to do that. So that's a fantastic use for the Medallia service. That's awesome. Go ahead.
It's a great point that you're raising, that people often don't know how to gather these innovative ideas, because years ago we had like a suggestion box, right? Ted Lasso, right? He starts out with his new team and he brings in a shoebox, right? With colors on it. And that's the suggestion box. And then we advanced to the online suggestion box, but it made it so easy for people to provide ideas. They would provide tens of thousands of ideas from all different areas, and they can be so complex. You have these back office people trying to figure out, it was unmanageable. This is much different. This is creating a specific challenge on a particular topic with people who are knowledgeable about it, who can come together and create ideas. So it really brings you right to a solution rather than just thousands and thousands of ideas. And how do you bring those together?
Makes perfect sense. So everything you described about Medallia, in my mind, makes a ton of sense for the Liberty Mutuals, the Nationwides, the Travelers, the State Farms, the gigantic players in our industry that employ tens of thousands of people. Is that the only target customer, or does it make sense? Like how small of an employer would does it still work for?
Yeah, so we do work with smaller employers. I mean, even Medallia, we only have 2,500 employees, and you can imagine we use all of our software internally. So one example during the pandemic, we have surveys that you can answer at any time. Anytime I have an idea or feedback, I click a button, I just tell them what's going on. I don't have to answer any questions. I just say, here's what I'm thinking about. Here's what's on my mind. And we use text analytics and natural language processing on the back end to understand it. So this way it's completely organic to the employee. So one of the things we heard, stress and workload, right? Work-life balance issues during the pandemic. So we issued a challenge in our crowdsourcing where employees got to suggest ideas. And then leadership came back to us and said, here are the 3 ideas that got the most votes, and here's how we're implementing them. So the employee isn't just saying things and feeling like it goes into a black hole and wondering if anything happens. They're participating in the process all the way to the end, to actually taking the action and implementing.
So, and all that happened using your own system?
Our own system with only 2,500 employees, right?
Okay.
And how many participate? Probably 70%, so you can get to fairly small numbers, because why it's still valuable to a small company is managers are going through the day with millions of things to do. Every department pinging them, they've got their customers, there's employees, and they're having to make decisions very quickly. But often they're doing it without data, right? It's on an anecdote. Some employee said
Of
this,
course, yeah.
or I've heard this, or I've worried about this, or I read an article. We're giving you data so that you're able to make a data-informed decision, right? Because you're already making those decisions. Let's just make it easier for you and then record it. This is the action I took.
So it does make sense even for, like, let's say the regionals who have a few hundred employees.
Yes, definitely. And especially just facilitating communication between people, sharing videos, right? Sharing ideas. It's just making the workflow easy instead of us like kind of unmanageable. We're in meetings, who's taking notes, what's happening next? It creates a simple workflow.
Okay. What's the pricing like? As much as you can describe it.
Thank goodness that's not part of my job.
Okay.
I don't have to worry about that. Other people do. But as you can imagine, it costs a lot less for small companies than it does for large companies.
So by the user type of model.
Yeah, exactly. And people can choose a really small piece. Like you could say, let's just have crowdsourcing. Like that's what we need at our company.
Okay, so you can pick and choose out of a buffet of a suite of options.
Exactly. So you could put in like this big listening system that's all over the company in different areas and coming back to analytics, or it could just be, we just need a way to help with innovation. Let's just do crowdsourcing, and let's be very specific that every month or whatever, we're launching our crowdsourcing and constantly innovating.
Fantastic. Having worked for 4 or 5 different carriers, I as an employee, I would have liked this instead of the of the more traditional methods that I was subjected to, which never seemed to bring about any change. I myself have never been a people leader, but putting myself in the shoes of my girlfriend. My girlfriend's a VP at a very, very large global broker, and she's a fantastic leader, but most definitely they don't have the data on what the employees want. Exactly, they have a lot of anecdotes, and often it becomes the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and not the systematic fixes that would fix the bigger issues that are costing you talent.
You're exactly right. I mean, it's just like what we do in insurance. We used to have to figure out how much do we pay for each local auto shop, right? And they all had different prices, and we couldn't figure out like what was the right price. But now we can bring all the data together and analyze it and create these models that if you have damage to the right front fender of a Toyota Highlander, we know exactly how much that should cost, right? And we can negotiate that. So it's the same thing with employees. When we bring together larger amounts of data and look at it over time, we're able to recognize these trends and patterns. Because managers have a lot of good ideas. They've got hypotheses. Now they're able to use the data to test them and know where should I invest, because they probably have a good sense, but they don't know which one will have the greatest impact. And that's really what this does for you.
Fantastic. But yeah, that's a mic drop. Clearly, you've been doing this for a while. So thank you for joining me today. It was very interesting to learn about Medallia and your background prior in the industry. Thank you so much. When it goes live, I'll tag you on LinkedIn, and I'll tag the company. I'll include the company website also. So for the listeners, if this sounds like something that you'd like to take a look at, check out the website, reach out. I can tell you from the perspective of the insurance talent that calls me for career advice every day, they would very much appreciate having something like this and having their voice better heard by the company.
I agree with you. Thank you so much, Tony. It's great talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you.